You know, a while back I did a video where I asked people that thought we needed more gun control laws, what laws would they specifically say that we should enact that would actually stop violent crime, especially mass shootings? Well, I've had time to look at a lot of these responses now, and I want to address some notions that these people seem to be laboring under. There seems to be some ideas that they all seem to share that may or may not be true. So I want to take a moment to address them individually today and say whether they're true or not. Now, the first idea that a lot of them seem to share is that people that live in a state that has very restrictive gun laws can just get in their car, drive out of state, and buy a gun there if that state has less restrictive gun laws. So is that true? Can someone from, say, New York just drive down to Virginia and buy a gun? No, that is false. You cannot cross state lines and buy a gun. If you cross state lines, even if that state has individual sales between individual residents, you can't buy from that person in that state because you are not a resident of that state, so they cannot legally sell you a gun. That is already illegal. And as far as going to a gun shop and buying a gun, you can go to a licensed FFL and buy a gun. But you can't buy a gun that's not legal in your state because that FFL does not give you the gun. That FFL transfers that gun to an FFL in your state who will then transfer the gun to you if it's legal to do so in your state. So this whole idea of an iron pipeline that supplies states that you can't buy guns legally in with legal guns is ridiculous. You cannot cross state lines and buy a gun without an FFL check. It just can't happen legally. The second notion these people seem to have is that anybody can just buy a gun off the internet from a dealer or an individual with no background check whatsoever, have it sent directly to them. Is that true? No, that is false. You cannot just buy a gun from a dealer off the internet and have it sent directly to you. If you buy a gun from any licensed dealer, be it on the internet or in person, you have to do a background check. If you buy it off the internet, it's actually more difficult than buying it from a store because you still have to have the gun sent to a store that has an FFL. That store has to send their FFL license to the person selling you the gun, and they send it to an FFL in your state. You go to that FFL, fill out the paperwork, do the background check, pick up the gun. If you buy the gun from an individual that's not in your state, they have to send the gun to an FFL in your state. And most FFLs will not receive from individuals, so they usually have to go to another FFL, have them send it to another FFL in your state, and then you go, do the paperwork, do the background check, pick up the gun legally. The only real exception to this, that you can get a gun off the internet without a background check, is if you live in a state that doesn't require background checks for sales between individuals and you use the internet to arrange a sale between two individuals. That's still totally legal if you do it within your state lines and you're both residents of that state. The internet is just an intermediary. It does not in any way make someone able to get guns in their state that they can't legally get in their state. Because if your state doesn't allow you to have it, you can't have it sent there from out of state because no one will accept it. The FFLs will not transfer it to you, and you cannot have it sent directly to you. So even though it's completely untrue that you can just get on the internet, buy a gun that you can't buy in your state, and have it shipped to you, a lot of people seem to share that misconception. The third misconception a lot of people have is the gun show loophole. It's probably the one that people hear about the most. A lot of people seem to think that if you go to a gun show, the dealers there don't have to do background checks because it's a gun show. Is that true? No, that is false. At a gun show, you will do the same background check that you would if you went to the dealer's brick and mortar store. They have to follow the same rules at a gun show that they follow in their own store. So if you're buying from a dealer at a gun show, there is no loophole. They have to do a background check just like they would at their own store. Now, what people consider the loophole is if you live in a state that has private transfers from person to person without a background check, you can meet someone at the gun show, decide to buy a gun from them, buy it without a background check. And here's the kicker. In most states, a gun show is considered the premises of a licensed FFL, and you cannot conduct a private sale on the premises of a licensed FFL, which means if you meet someone at the gun show and you want to do a private transfer, you have to leave and go somewhere else. So that's actually more difficult than just meeting them somewhere else and buying it. So it doesn't change anything about how you do a personal transfer between individual citizens. You do what's legal in your state. If your state doesn't allow it, they can't do it at a gun show. If your state does allow it, they still can't really do it at the gun show, but they can do it off the premises just like they could if there was no gun show. So it is not a gun show loophole. That is a misconception. The final idea that I want to address in this video is this idea that a lot of people seem to share, that people that commit mass murders or just murders in general would have been stopped if there had been a legal requirement for a background check in their state to purchase a weapon. So is it true that most people who commit a mass murder would have been stopped if there had been a background check in place? No, that is false. The fact is, most people that commit a crime like that, no matter how heinous, it's usually the first time they've done it. They've never done anything before that would have prevented them from committing the crime. So therefore, they could have legally bought the gun with a background check. In fact, the vast majority of the time, they did buy the gun with a legal background check. The background check has been ineffective in stopping these types of things. When most people are killed, it's a crime of passion or it's a crime of opportunity. It's very seldomly a mass murder. And when it is a mass murder, the people usually obtain the guns legally. Same things with crimes of passion, etc. They are people that did not commit a crime until then, so therefore the background check did not stop them. An additional type of background check would not stop them. You cannot anticipate people who might commit a crime someday. You have to judge people on whether they have or have not committed a crime up to that point. And most people have not committed a crime at the time they buy their weapon. Be it a ball bat, an axe, a firearm, whatever weapon they choose to enact their violence, they have not committed the crime at the time they purchase it. So therefore, a background check would do nothing to stop it. And that is made very evident by the fact that most of them did go through background checks. The vast majority. Guns are obtained one of two ways for most of these most heinous crimes. That is, they were either legally purchased or they were stolen, neither of which would be stopped by a background check. So there you have it. There are a few of the notions that a lot of these people seem to be laboring under that are completely false. So it's okay if you want to have the idea that you think we need more gun restrictions, but at least take some time and educate yourself on what the laws are now before you start proposing more things that won't make any difference. You ain't even my real dad.